ultimately it's not for everyone. Do you believe you could be a good leader? Do you really want to perform under stress? Do you really think you're built for that? Have you asked yourself these three questions? What are my strengths? How do I perform? And what are my values? Have you answered those questions? Have you looked at those questions? Those are things you need to build on. Right, so I want to talk about another book that I just read. This is a short book, small book. Don't know if maybe some of you read it before, heard it before. It's Managing Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. Originally published in 99. It's a business book, but there are some parts in here that really jumped out to me. It's only a short book, only like a little skinny book. So I got through it quite quickly, but there are a couple of bits in here which I want to read, and then you'll know what I mean by how much they jump out in terms of bits that I've already spoken about in relation to leadership. So I'll get on with it. How do I learn? The second thing to know about how one performs is to know how one learns. Many first-class writers, Winston Churchill is but one example, do poorly in school. They tend to remember their schoolings as pure torture, yet few of their classmates remember it the same way. They may not have enjoyed the school very much, but the worst they suffered was boredom. The explanation is that writers do not, as a rule, learn by listening and reading. They learn by writing, because schools do not allow them to learn this way. They get poor grades. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that image of, I think it was an Einstein quote that said, you can't judge everyone the same way or something, and it shows all the animals lined up, and there's a monkey and a fish and an elephant and whatever else, and it says, right, we're going to judge you on who can climb the tree the best. And it's like, but they're all different animals. It's the same sort of thing. People get judged the same, people get tested all the same, but everyone learns differently, everyone recalls information differently, so you're only judging a certain type of intelligence. But again, this shows how people learn. Different type of learning. Some people listen, some people write, some people prefer speaking. Anyway, moving on. Schools everywhere are organised on the assumption that there is only one right way to learn, and that is the same way for everybody. But to be forced to learn the way a school teaches is sheer hell for students who learn differently. Indeed, there are probably half a dozen ways to learn. I hated school, so I feel for this completely. I'm with this. So there are people like Churchill who learn by writing. Some people learn by taking copious notes. Beethoven, for example, left behind an enormous number of sketchbooks, yet he said he never actually looked at them when he composed. Asked why he kept them, he is reported to have replied, "If I don't write it down immediately, I forget it right away. If I put it into a sketchbook, I never forget it and I never have to look it up again." Some people learn by doing, others learn by hearing themselves talk. A chief executive I know who converted a small and mediocre family business into the leading company in its industry was one of those people who learn by talking. He was in the habit of calling his entire senior staff into his office once a week and then talking at them for 2 or 3 hours. He would raise policy issues and argue 3 different positions on each one. He rarely asked his associates for comments or questions. He simply needed an audience to hear himself talk. That's how he learned. And although he's a fairly extreme case, learning through talking is by no means an unusual method. Successful trial lawyers learn the same way, as do many medical diagnosticians, and so do I. Of all the important pieces of self-knowledge, understanding how you learn is the easiest to acquire. When I ask people how do you learn, most of them know the answer, but when I ask do you act on this knowledge, few answer yes. And yet, acting on this knowledge is the key to performance, or rather, not acting on this knowledge condemns one to non-performance. That section there makes me think long and hard about people who want to, for example, when they say, I want to be a better leader, I want to lead, I want blah, blah, blah. And then you think to yourself, well, do you, to improve the bits that you are weak at, to become better, maybe closer to becoming a leader, Are you learning the right way, and are you picking yourself apart and getting feedback and finding out what you need to improve on, and then learning how to do those things? Do you break it down? I remember years ago I looked up the definition of charm, and I looked up a few different people who were associated with charm, and you had like Frank Sinatra, you had oh man, I can't remember who else there was. I think Bill Clinton was in there. Um, uh, what's his name? Roger Moore and Sean Connery, both the James Bonds. So all of them were in there, and then you look it up and you say, well, what is it they've all got in common? And it would say that, for example, they were cool and calm. They would look at people in the eye. They were very confident, and you had this. Um, if you use kind of statistical analysis, you would look at what have they all got in common, and what is the most important bit. What don't you need? So what could you take out? Could you take out that composure, that cool, calm, speaking slowly? Could you take that out? And would they still have the same effect? No, you can't. So you have to leave that in there. And I kind of broke down what charm was, and I found that fascinating. And that again is with leadership. Can you break down what you don't have and what you probably need to be a better leader? And can you learn that? So what is the best way for you to figure that out? Is it to watch great leaders? Is it to speak to great leaders? Is it to read about great leaders and then try and implement those lessons? So how you learn is super, super important. Am I a reader or a listener? And how do I learn? Are the first questions to ask. But they are by no means the only ones. To manage yourself effectively, you also have to ask, do I work well with people, or am I a loner? And if you do work well with people, you then must ask, in what relationship? Some people work best as subordinates. Some people work best as subordinates, full stop. General George Patton, the great American military hero of World War II, is a prime example. Patton was America's top troop commander, yet when he was proposed for an independent command, General George Marshall, the US Chief of Staff, and probably the most successful picker of men in US history, said, Patton is the best subordinate the American Army has ever produced, but he would be the worst commander. How fascinating is that? How fascinating is that? Some people work best as subordinates. This is something I think people need to have a bit of a reality check, swallow their ego. I think some people are very, very good subordinates. They are incredible as subordinates, but they cannot do the job, the same job as a great leader. They would make terrible commanders. So moving on. Some people work best as team members, others work best alone. Some are exceptionally talented as coaches and mentors, others are simply incompetent as mentors. Another crucial question is, do I produce results as a decision maker or as an advisor? A great many people perform best as advisors but cannot take the burden and pressure of making the decision. A good many other people, by contrast, need an advisor to force themselves to think. Then they can make decisions and act on them with speed, self-confidence, and courage. This is a reason, by the way, that the number 2 person in an organization often fails when promoted to the number 1 position. The top spot requires a decision maker. Strong decision makers often put somebody they trust into the number 2 spot as their advisor, and in that position the person is outstanding. But in the number 1 spot, the same person fails. He or she knows what the decision should be, but cannot accept the responsibility of actually making it. That there, I think, is one of the best points I've heard in terms of leadership. I think that is incredibly, incredibly important. Hit the nail on the head. Too many people want to be the leader. They want to be in charge. They want everyone to look at them. They want to feel important. But when it comes to the crunch, when it comes down to actually doing those things, the nitty gritty of the job, not all the plaudits, not the attention, not the feeling like you're in charge, not being treated like royalty, all those things, everyone wants that. What they don't want is the actual job. They do not want to make those decisions. They do not want to be held responsible. They will pass on that responsibility. They will blame everyone else. They do not want that responsibility. They do not want to stand up. Too many people do not want that. And I think this is incredibly important. It's all good saying, can I be a great leader? Can I learn all those little things that will make me a better leader? Can I be a better speaker? Can I improve my posture? Can I improve my organizational skills? Like it says about someone who, what does it say? They need, a good many other people, by contrast, need an advisor to force themselves to think. But do you need someone to help you think? If so, you're not the complete leader. You can pick people who have those elements that you don't have, and then that can complete you as a leader with those subordinates around you, and then you can do a great job. But a lot of those people, like I said, they know what to do, but you put them in that position. They do not want the responsibility. They do not want to be the one who, when shit goes wrong, it comes to them. They don't want it. This is where I think certain people thrive and others don't. I think this is probably something, possibly genetic, being South American, but I think this is possibly something to do with my past, but I enjoy confrontation. I love when someone has a problem with me. I like getting animated and arguments and debates, and I really enjoy it. I thrive on it. When I see two people arguing, I want to get involved. I love it. Now, I don't have to. I can sit and chill and watch. But at the same time, I like it when someone wants to challenge me. I really enjoy it. And I think that part of me, personally, is part of why I like taking responsibility, because I kind of feel protective of everyone else anyway. And then that part of me says, right, I want to take that responsibility on, because when shit goes wrong, I'm happy to have the argument with whoever it is that comes down and then complains at us. That's cool. You want to have a go at me, you have a go at me. As soon as they start having a go at someone else within my team, then game on. I'll say to them, back the fuck up. You got a problem, you speak to me. I will deal with my team. You do not have a go at my team, you have a go at me. I'm happy for someone to shout at me, and I will not allow anyone above me to shout at my team. They're my team. I don't give a fuck if it's your company. My team. You have a go at me. You blame me. You leave my team alone. If my team have done something wrong, that is my fault. And I think that is where a lot of people do not have that. They will think, oh, I'll just blame someone else and they can get sacked. No. No, 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 no. I do not want someone else to take a bollocking, because I believe I'm better at taking them. I believe that for me, I don't care. It's water off a duck's back. So I feel it's my duty to do that. And at the same time, I think that is why I'm very good at making the decisions, because I'm very happy to take the flak if it goes wrong. So being a strong decision maker, being happy to take responsibility, that is what I take from that. And like I said, a lot of people do not want that. They want the plaudits. They want being treated like royalty. What they do not want is the shit that comes with it. Moving on. Other important questions to ask include, do I perform well under stress? Or do I need a highly structured and predictable environment? Do I work best in a big organisation or a small one? Few people work well in all kinds of environments. Again and again, I've seen people who were very successful in large organisations flounder miserably when they moved into smaller ones. And the reverse is equally true. The conclusion bears repeating. Do not try to change yourself. You are unlikely to succeed. But work hard to improve the way you perform. And try not to take on work you cannot perform or will only perform badly. I want to read that again. The conclusion bears repeating. Do not try to change yourself. You are unlikely to succeed, but work hard to improve the way you perform, and try not to take on work you cannot perform or will only perform poorly. How important is that? How important is that? So going back, the first thing that he said in that little section, other important questions to ask include, do I perform well under stress? Or do I need a highly structured and predictable environment? I like stress. I like unpredictability. I like pressure. I enjoy it. I thrive on it. A lot of people don't. They don't like that pressure. They don't like intensity. They they melt. It's too much. I love it. I love it. So for me, I get bored if I'm in an environment where it's very structured, very slow, there's no intensity. I need that. I need pressure, really, to be honest. So it says, do I work best, or thinking to yourself, do I work best in a big organization or a small one? Do you know what? I don't know. I think I like being in a big organization. I don't like big organizations. I hate corporate environment, but I do like the intensity and pressure that comes with being part of a big project or a big, if I'm in charge of a lot of people, I do like that responsibility because again, I feel like I'm I'm born to stay calm in those moments. I'm born for people to, when they melt, I am going to be there to help them back up. I'm going to be there to be everyone's rock. That's what I'm there to do. That's what I'm good at. Sorry. So, going back again to this, do not try to change yourself. I think that is incredibly important for most people. Do not try to change yourself. I think there's so many people that say, I want the top spot. I want the money that comes with it. I want to get promoted. I want to be number one. I'll be fine with that responsibility and that pressure. And they're not. They end up, a lot of people can't do it. I know that in very high intensity environments, but a lot of people become alcoholics, drug addicts. Some people commit suicide because the pressure's too much. They can't deal with it. And I think you need to be a certain type of person. You do. You naturally, I believe, need to be a certain type of person. Yes, you can manage. Yes, you can be part of a team. But I think to lead from the front, to wade in a direction when no one is in front of you and everyone is shouting abuse at you, that you cannot teach. That's why when I talked about a few episodes ago about in the film Babe, Babe at the end where the farmer Hoggett walks out with Babe the pig and everyone's laughing at him and the look on his face is just like, fuck you all. Couldn't give a fuck. Then Babe does his little wander around. They finish. Everyone's cheering. Does he show any attitude? Is there any fuck you about anything? Nope. Composure the whole way through. I love that part of that film. That just cool calm when everyone's laughing at him. That cool calm when everyone's celebrating. That is brilliant. I love it. So going back to this again is do not try to change yourself. I think that's important. Too many people are trying to create themselves into becoming leaders. You either are or you're not. You are or you're not. And I think yes, you can improve your leadership ability, I suppose. You can improve things, but there is a maximum capacity, a maximum level. Some people can't do it all the way to the top. Some people can't do it under immense pressure. Some people can't. I think, yes, you can teach someone to lead in a small environment, but I think it's either in your personality or it's not. If it is, you can be better. If it's not, I don't think you can change that. I really don't. So last little section. Just something cool I thought was really good, to be honest. So, where do I belong? A small number of people know very early where they belong. Mathematicians, musicians, and cooks, for instance, are usually mathematicians, musicians, and cooks by the time they are 4 or 5 years old. Crazy. Physicians usually decide on their careers in their teens, if not earlier. But most people, especially highly gifted people, do not really know where they belong until they are well past their mid-20s. And a lot of people will say, that's me, that's me. Cool. By that time, however, they should know the answer to the three questions that are: what are my strengths? How do I perform? And what are my values? And then they can and should decide where they belong. Or rather, they should be able to decide where they do not belong. The person who has learned that he or she does not perform well in a big organization should have learned to say no to a position in one. I'm going to reread that bit. Most people, especially highly gifted people, do not really know where they belong until they are well past their mid-20s. Now, if this is you, by that time, they should know the answers to these three questions. What are my strengths? Write them the fuck down. You need to know what are your strengths. Analyze yourself all the time. Get feedback all the time. What are my strengths? How do I perform? How do I perform? Do I thrive on pressure? Am I... it could even be I perform best. For me personally, I love working at night. I'm shit in the morning. I perform best at night, under pressure. I love planning ahead. I love people underestimating me. So all of these things, how do I perform? Answer those questions, pick it apart. And then what are my values? What are my values? Mine would be, I feel I'm very protective. I want everyone to do well. I want to be better every single day. I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to achieve everything they want if they work for it. So I want everyone to have the opportunity to do what they want. And then you can and should decide where you belong in life. So what are my strengths? How do I perform? And what are my values? Answer those three questions, and that will change your life. I think if you know the answers to those questions, that is going to be huge in terms of probably answering the question of, should you be a leader? Should you be a leader? Are you looking to be a leader? If you are and you want to be, and you know it's within you, and you know that's your calling, you have to work on it. It's not just going to happen. Yes, the personality is in there within you. You grow up and you go, do you know what? I just happen to just be a leader. I just am. I do look after people. I am protective. To your story, when I was 10, I remember there was a boy in my class and he had some chalk. This is back in the day when they used to use chalkboards. And he had some chalk and he started itching his eye, and then he got chalk in it and he itched it more and more and more, and his eye went red. And again, I was probably about 10, and I said to the teacher, I said, his eye's red, can he go to see the nurse or whatever it was? And she went, no, put your hand down, I'm in the middle of teaching. And I was like, no, the boy's eye, obviously I didn't say this, but you know, like the boy's eye could fall out. The boy is in pain. You need to do something about this. She hated the way that I spoke to her, the fact that I was 10 years old. And she was like, no, stop talking. I am in the middle of teaching. And that was it. That, for me, that was it. I was like, nope, I'm taking him to the nurse. She said, you sit down. Nope, I'm taking him to the nurse. She starts screaming at me, don't you dare disobey what I'm telling you. Tough. You do not care about this boy's eye. I do. To her, it was about losing control of the class, because I've now basically just completely disobeyed what she said. But to me, I did not care. The boy's eye, it wasn't even one of my friends. It was just a boy sat across the table. I knew him, but he wasn't one of my close friends. But I wasn't having it. To me, I would have done anything. She could have grabbed me. I would have probably just smacked her in the mouth and just been like, "You're not listening to me. This boy needs to be seen." Probably slightly autistic trait there, because I just like clung on to this fact that he needed to see someone about his eye. But that was it. That was it. As soon as he had this issue with his eye, that was it. He has to go and see the nurse because his eye. And I was very protective, even at that age, at 10 years old. Don't get me wrong, at sometimes probably that age I wasn't. But there were times when I wanted to look after people. I was born to be that sort of shepherd. So that is within me. So I've learnt these skills over time. I've learnt these strengths, and then I've thought, how am I going to build upon that? Not necessarily. Sometimes that is just the way I'm wired, and I can't help it. I'll see something happen. I'm like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't and I've got to go and do something. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. Can't help it. I can't help it. If I see someone at work bullying someone, and if I see someone who's 5 positions above me in the chain, and this is why I generally, I don't last long in businesses, because when I have to work, this is the point, I have to earn money. So when I'm working and there's someone, say, at this position, and then there's someone at this position, and I'm all the way down here, and I see this person bullying this person, I will straight away defend this person, and I'll be on that one. And they're like, "Who the hell are you to be arguing with me?" And I'm like, "Who the hell are you to be shouting at him? Speaking to him like that. Give him some respect. He's a human being. He's a father. I respect him. So can you." And they're like, "How dare you? I am one of the main managing director of this company. Who the fuck are you?" I say, "I don't care what you call yourself. Who the fuck are you? You do not speak to people like that. You learn some manners, you learn some respect. You have a problem with him, you speak to him, you treat him like a human being. If not, you're going to have to go through me to get to him." And people just, their minds are just like, I don't understand what's going on. You are like the bottom of the barrel. Why are you getting involved? What? And I cannot help it. I cannot help it. That, I think, is the difference between something that is within your personality and something that is not. So I'm very protective. And I think working on that strength and going, okay, how can I funnel this properly? How can I, instead of having an argument with that person, how can I be functionally protective and make sure I'm doing my job as someone who does not like seeing this injustice? And I think I said before, a psychologist said to me years ago, the reason I don't like injustice is because of subconsciously, it's all to do with being abandoned and adopted, and it's a sense of unfairness. The world was unfair to me, so I hate seeing the world being unfair to other people. That's what I was told. So yeah, that injustice, that sense of injustice to me, I can't stand. I can't stand it. So being aware of that, it's taken me years, taken me decades to understand these things, where people have told me bits and I've kind of gone, oh wow, I didn't know that. I was told years ago I had to get assessed for I did get assessed for autism because they told me that I ticked a lot of the autistic boxes, but then when I actually went for the test, and she was just like, you're not autistic. She just said, it's very strange. She said, because you tick some of the boxes that are like very strong markers, but then there's other things which are, you're very clearly not autistic. So she said, it's very strange the way your brain works. And she said it was basically, or my subconscious wired my own brain, maybe my conscious wired my own brain to be able to function because of the anger and confusion and everything else I had as a young child, all to do with adoption. And that was partly how I got that. What was it called? What was it called? Even self manifested compartmentalization syndrome or some shit like that. Basically, where I've created split personalities within my head to deal with emotion, because I couldn't control it. My emotions were so insanely strong and everywhere, and I couldn't control it. I wasn't able to function. So I had to basically cut the tie between these emotions and then become consciously in control of them. So I would be able to saw off my anger box and then saw off my insecurity box, and then I would put them each into their boxes, and then now they're all on physical light switches that I can switch on and off. So it would be, oh, I'm feeling this, and then I kind of be aware of it and go, switch that off, and then I would be able to switch off my, I don't know, my unhappy switch, gone. I would have one which would be my to my angry switch. I would be able to see that anger as another person. So became I then didn't have guilt for things I did, because I would feel like it was that angry part of me was protecting the rest of us in my head. So all of that came from wiring my own brain to be able to function. So I think those sort of things came from, again, being adopted, but then it has created this weird coping mechanism that now I've got all these different strengths. Of course, there are weaknesses in there, and it has caused many issues in my life, but that is one of them. One of them is seeing a boss who's up here shouting at someone who's here, and I'm here, and I will protect that person. I've got no right to, but to me, I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. Managing director, what's that? To me, you are another human being. To me, you are. If we were in the plains in Africa, and I was a lion and you were a lion, you're a what? I'm managing what? No, that's all there is to it. We're both gorillas. There's no names of stuff. Money? What do you mean money? It doesn't mean anything. We're both animals. So you learn to speak to people properly, and that, like I said, has become one of my greatest strengths in terms of leadership, but one of my biggest weaknesses in terms of being able to function as a human being and actually make money in a job where I don't get sacked every 2 minutes for just pissing off bosses who've got ego issues. So anyway, I just thought those bits within this book were incredibly good. This book is worth a read. It's very short. Have a look. Managing Oneself, Peter F. Drucker. Really good book. I think it is one of the books. I've read a lot of books. I've got a hell of a lot of books that I'm still working my way through that I've read before, and I think it's one of the books that's jumped out to me the most in terms of leadership. The other one is this one, which I'm going to cover at one point, but The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. Absolutely brilliant book, The Prince. Absolutely love it. So anyway, I'm going to leave you there. I thought those bits were brilliant, if I'm honest. So thank you. Let me, give me a comment. Let me know what you think. Interact with me. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't. Give me another book to read. More importantly, give me someone to interview. I'm still gonna start interviewing people soon about leadership. I want to start interviewing a couple of people as well about mental health issues and adoption and things like that as well, because I think all of that all comes together with part of leadership. I think you have to have really something wrong with your brain to want to be a leader, I think. So I want to try and find some people who know that sort of stuff. So yeah, cool. Thank you for listening, and I will see you again soon.